brief outline of why I think your being here is important and how we can move ahead in this nation. And frankly, I want to have Illinois be on the cutting edge of moving ahead in this really dramatic breakthrough in the area of law enforcement. I want to also, before I do anything else, thank John Marshall Law School for their cooperation. My staff tells me they have been incredibly helpful. Let me give you just a little bit of background, then introduce a few people for a few words and for any comments they may have. And I think the state's attorney of Cook County said he's unable to stay because of another commitment, but I want him to stand and take a bow. Cecil Partee, we're very happy to have you here. We are on the edge of something that is fairly dramatic in the area of law enforcement. People have asked me to make comparisons of what DNA means in law enforcement, and about the only thing I can make a comparison of when they say compare it with fingerprinting, it's a little bit like radio and television. The fact that television has come along doesn't knock out radio, but it adds a whole new element to the whole field of entertainment and news and everything else. DNA doesn't knock out fingerprinting, but it brings in a whole brand new element into the whole area of law enforcement. Each of us, as it turns out, has a genetic map, and you can get a hold of my blood, semen, parts of my body. The hair generally is not yet, we haven't perfected that, though that is, we're moving in on that shortly. And that will be unique with only two exceptions. One is if I'm an identical twin, and the second is if I have just had a blood transfusion, then that genetic map may not be cleared. But other than that, you will be able to find out precisely on that genetic map if the blood or the semen in cases matches up with a DNA type that is on record. When I say type, John Hicks may want to correct me later on. I'm not going to use all the right terminology here, but it is fairly dramatic. What can be done? For example, let's just say you have 7 rape cases you're handling. You will be able to know precisely that 5 of the 7 were committed by the one person through semen. And you will also know then that 2 other cases were not committed by the same person. There are those who have some concerns in the area of civil liberties. And I would add that is not new. We had those concerns when fingerprinting first came in. We had those concerns when the breathalyzer came in. But I would say to my friends, and I'm an old civil libertarian, I would say to my friends who are concerned in this area, first, it is a way of people also not only finding people who are guilty, but of also people proving their innocence. It is a fairly dramatic way for people proving their innocence. We are just starting in this whole field. It was developed in England. We have had only one court case that is really well on its way on appeal. I held the first hearing in the history of Congress on this back a few weeks ago. We are just exploring where we go. And you will hear shortly from the man who heads this effort in the FBI on what is happening. Last week, the director of the FBI was in my office, and we talked about where we go on this. There is an FBI lab, and we have the person you'll hear from shortly who heads the FBI lab, where this work is being done. The Chicago Police Department is represented here, and they are preparing, as I understand, to move in this area. The state of Illinois is preparing to move in this area. My hope is that just as we have fingerprint files with the FBI nationally so that you can tell if someone from New Mexico committed a crime in Chicago, we will, before very long, have the same kind of DNA files with the FBI. Anyway, we are here just to explore and to see what's happening. We're here on the cutting edge of something that is very dramatic, very new, and I think very significant. Let me call on a few people here, and I think I put my cards away here somewhere. First, just for a brief presentation at this point, and as I follow the question, each person here will be asked just to say talk for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we will open for press questions, and then we will go into the more formal presentation. First, the person who is heading this for the FBI, who has really done a remarkable job, testified before my subcommittee, has headed the efforts there, John Hicks. John? Just a 2 or 3 minute summary while we have some reporters here.
Okay.
And then
good. All right. First thing I think it's important that I should say is that Senator Simon made a comment just a moment ago that perhaps I'd correct him on using the term DNA typing. I'm just a humble bureaucrat, and I've I've got sense enough to know better than to try to correct the chairman of the subcommittee on the judiciary, and that has showed a lot of interest and support for our technology. So I won't be correcting you, Senator Simon. But what I would like to do in a few minutes, and I'll try to present some of the perspectives of the FBI and kind of explain to you what role the FBI is playing in trying to bring about this the implementation of DNA technology nationwide, not just for the FBI, but for law enforcement and crime laboratories throughout the country. And then Bill Eubanks, who runs our DNA unit, he will present to you for maybe 30 minutes or so some of the very practical applications of how the technology is already shown to be very useful and very beneficial for us. So with that, I thank you for your introduction, sir.
Okay. John, if you don't mind staying up here, maybe grab a couple of more chairs here.